The Broncos 2022 schedule is out, and it is a doozy. 5 primetime games, Christmas Day game, and the opener in Seattle as Russ makes his return to the Pacific Northwest. Hello, I'm Phil Milani, alongside Sidney Jones and Aric, DiLalla, coming to you from inside the press room here, and that's because we got news. We got action here. The Broncos schedule is out. Let's start with talking about the opener a little bit. Sydney, what do you think about heading to Seattle Monday Night Football?
Oh, yeah, Phil. I mean, what a way to open the season for us. I mean, Russ heading back to Seattle, us going against, former Broncos, Shelby Harris, Noah Fant, Drew Lock there. I think it's going to be a really fun one, a great way to start on Monday Night Football, too. It's gonna be good.
I think it's good to get it out of the way. Sometimes when Peyton went back to Indy, when Tom Brady went back to New England, it was a little bit later in the season. You could tell they tried to make it like any other game, but it's emotional. And so I think it's okay that you have this much time. Maybe it actually helps. You can figure out, how do I want to handle this? How do I want to go about this week, this game? It certainly will be emotional, I think, for Russ to go back to Lumen Field, played 10 seasons there. But this is a game, Phil, Broncos need to win to get off to a fast start. And they should have the better team. I think they'll get it done.
I think Russ is going to go up there. He's got a point to prove. Hey, I'm still that guy. And I'm sure that Drew Lock probably has a little something. That matchup definitely circled for both those starting quarterbacks. Looking at the rest of the schedule here, the Broncos back in primetime a lot after the last couple of years not really being in the national spotlight. What do you think about that, Sydney?
Yeah, Phil, that was the first thing I noticed. I mean, last year we started, when we first got the schedule, we only had one primetime game, that Thursday Night Football game against the Browns. We did get flexed and had a Sunday Night Football game against the Chiefs, but 5 primetime games, national television, 5 times, not including that London game too. That'll be really big. But we got some really fun matchups for those. You mentioned the Seattle game, that Monday Night Football. We then got a Sunday Night Football game, San Fran. We got Thursday Night Football against the Colts, Monday Night Football again in Los Angeles against the Chargers, and then another Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs later on in the season.
Yeah, really any divisional matchup could be in primetime. That's how good the AFC West is. Aric, we've talked a lot about how important it is to be in primetime, in that national spotlight, just for Pro Bowls, All Pros, all those kind of honors. It's important to be playing for the whole country.
Well, and the Broncos should be in that conversation all year because 4 of these primetime games come in the first 6 weeks. And then toward the end of the year, when you'd expect the Broncos to be rolling, kind of in the hunt for the division or the playoffs, those games are going to be featured as well. I mean, it's not just primetime, right? That main CBS game, that main Fox game, you should see the Broncos a lot around the country. So good for the players, good for fans who don't live in the Denver area. And I just think it's back to where this organization should be.
You mentioned the end of the season there. That's what really stood out to me. The Broncos' December, January slate, really, really difficult. Sydney, that's going to really determine a lot of stuff.
Yeah, those final 6 games of the season are going to be really tough for the Broncos. So I think that adds another amount of emphasis to the beginning of the season. We got to get off to a hot start here. The players, they need to be in the right mindset and with the right record heading into those final 6 games because, like you mentioned, it's going to be tough. You got Baltimore, Kansas City, Arizona, going against, Super Bowl defending champs, the Rams, Kansas City, and then ending with the Chargers. Really tough to end the season.
And the Broncos, 13 consecutive losses to the Chiefs, Aric. You played them twice in that final little stretch there. That could really determine whether this team makes the playoffs or seeding, division maybe on the line that final 2 months.
Yeah, you're going to find out a lot about this team. I think it's good that you play some of these games, the 2 against Kansas City, the 1 against the Rams, late in the year when this team is rolling. When Peyton first started here, team started off 2-3, took a little bit to get going, but by the end of the year, they were cruising.
They didn't lose again.
Again, right. So maybe you see the same thing with the Broncos. Get some, not easy games, but easier games to start before you get to that stretch. And, coming out of that 6 games at 3-3 or something like that, that would be tremendous. And we have to remember, too, it's a hard stretch of games, but the Broncos are a much better team, too. Some teams are going to look at that stretch and say, oh, no, we got to play the Broncos here. And so I don't think you should discount this team's ability to win some of those games.
And if this Broncos team wants to make a run in the playoffs, good to be battle tested earlier in the regular season. That way, when you're facing the elite teams in the playoffs, you've been in that familiar territory. Okay, let's wrap this up with each picking a game where you feel like this is where the Broncos season will maybe take a turn, better or for worse. Sydney, you pick a game here.
I'm gonna, I got week 11 circled, versus Raiders here. at Empower Field at Mile High. I have that circled because, we're about halfway through the season at that point. The players, the coaches, they're going to have a feel for what this team can do, what their record's going to look like. That's going to be the second time playing the Raiders. So if they can sweep the Raiders, they have a really great outlook moving forward to that, final 6-game stretch where they do have to play the Chiefs twice, Chargers again. If they can be in a good spot in the AFC West, after that game, I think they have a really good chance coming up top at the division.
Some people say division games count twice. We'll see if this Raiders team is reloaded. The Chargers, Justin Herbert is looking good, and we all know about the Chiefs. Aric, what's a game that you have circled?
It's all about Kansas City, Phil. That Week 14 Sunday Night Football game at home, that's a chance to, one, snap this streak, not hear about the 13 games anymore, and you got to wait a while. The past few years, you've had that chance early in the season to beat the Chiefs. This one doesn't come until Week 14. The other element is that if you beat the Chiefs, that might well put you in the lead of the division, kind of give you an advantage late in the year as you try to wrap up your first division title since 2015. And you kind of send a message, I think, to the rest of the league. Hey, we're for real, we're ready for the stretch run, and we're a legit contender for Super Bowl 57.
And get that monkey off their back. If you're able to do that, I think the confidence boost you could get, breaking 13 consecutive games, losing to one opponent, I think that could be huge for this team. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm predicting 17-0. All right, that's going to do it for us. That's our look at the Broncos 2022 schedule. For Aric, DiLalla, and Sydney Jones, I'm Phil Milani.